the customer has no idea, to your point. All they're
Mm,
seeing is Moringa A, Moringa B. This looks like a pretty package. It's for $14.95. It looks like a bunch of people bought it, so I might as well buy it. And so now you get this neutered version of an incredible botanical that
mm,
is incredibly beneficial if done right to the people who grew it,
mm,
to the people selling it, and to the benefit of the customer. But that's not going on. That is
mm.
very little of that is going on.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is the Ancient Health Podcast. My name is Courtney. I'm here with Dr. Motley. And today, our guest, maybe somebody you're familiar with on the big screen, Darin Olien. He's the co-host of the Emmy-Award-Winning Netflix docu-series. I don't know if you guys remember this, Down to Earth with Zac Efron. I actually remember when this came out, and a friend of mine sent it to me. It was so cool. My favorite one was the episode on water that you guys did. But if you haven't
Mhm.
checked it out, it'll be linked in the show notes. Absolutely loved it. He's also a New York Times bestselling author of SuperLife and his new book, which we're going to talk about a little bit on this episode, Fatal Conveniences. I'm like loving the title of that book also. I feel like it is so true. But he's the original creator of Shakeology. I have to ask you about that. I feel like we have mutual friends maybe from that. And we were just talking about Barukas, and he is just like the man of superfoods. So, I mean, this man has so much experience. I cannot
Mhm.
wait to just start peeling back all the layers. But guys, welcome to the show. Darin, so grateful to have you here today.
Yeah, stoked to be here. Meet new people who are excited and passionate about health. I love it.
Yeah, so
Definitely,
good.
definitely.
Well,
Now,
okay.
with first thing, Courtney, I just want to say, like, whenever we talked about like in this podcast, remember, like we got to leeway into some of the like how you're going to help the pets and the animals. Somehow we're going to talk a little bit about that too. Okay, later on. But first
Yeah.
off, we're going to start off with this stuff. Okay.
We bonded over the German Shepherd thing earlier. So, I was very curious for a man that's done as much digging and investigating in the world of food. I know that you're not leaving the dogs out. And so they must be eating really well. So I was quite interested from a personal level to dive into that. But Darin, there's so much experience that you've had. First of all, I have so much respect for you because for most of us, the deep dive we do is maybe reading the label on the back of a packaged food that we're buying, but you've traveled the world looking for answers and really trying to create a diet that is perfect for you and really finding what helps support people's healing journeys. So, in all of what you've done in terms of just your experience, what is it that you feel like your mission is now? Because I mean, you've got a lot that you can fall back on, but like taking all of that and harnessing it, what is the message that you carry right now that you just feel like people need to know?
There's some layers to that, but I think at the core of what drives me within everything that I do, it's supporting the health of people and the health of the planet. And the planet also includes the animals and the insects and the dogs and yeah, everything else. So that's the broad width. But if something that I'm doing doesn't connect with that, I'm just not interested. So it just became clear to me that if I'm rebuilding my house, let's build it differently so that it can also gift other people down the line, and let's create different energy systems to support that thing. If I'm learning about these fatal conveniences from my father early on, let's create a book that is not just me learning it, but it proliferates into the world. If I'm exploring superfoods and looking at water and looking at longevity, let's make a show that proliferates those messages into the world. And so it's selfishly, I'm engaged with helping people thrive because I think it informed me as my early years of being born into this world, almost dying, being premature, and kind of struggling throughout my childhood from a health perspective. that imprint tries fills me up to this day. And so it's really underneath helping people and the environment. It's really like, let's try to have less suffering as we kind of walk on this planet. So that is really the core of what drives me, and then a lot of things can fill into that space. And it's really right now probably an art of saying no more
Mm,
than saying more and more of yeses, because I know that I can't, or it's saying yes to the right people and saying yes to the right conversations, and maximizing, the messages to the best of our ability. So yeah, that I think that is the clarity that I have currently. And it's a forever learning tool, right?
mm,
I'm touched, very similarly. And people, I just ran into a buddy that I've known for 20 years, and I haven't talked to him since I filmed season one. And he was like, "Yeah, people don't even know that that's 100% you. That's just who you are. You're just running around and curious and excited, and it's such a great thing to hear, because I think authenticity is at the core of what I've strived really hard to do, is to integrate what I care about, the small town kid,
mm,
and also push back on what society, and I fall victim to it too, but what society is telling us to do. Like, no one would have ever have said, "Did you plan to be a superfood hunter?" Of course I didn't. Like, right? There's no way. Did you plan to do a show with Zac Efron? No. Like, I had ideas of things I were leaning into, and ideas I was pushing, but serendipity, synchronicity, uh, opportunity spurred as a result of that. So, anyway, that's many different ways to answer that question, but I'm really excited by even seeing the state of the worlds that that are going on right now. Pendulum swings all the time, and it's easy to get sucked into what's right, what's wrong. But in fact, what is it in actually informing us? And what can I do to actively be a participant in what I believe I can contribute to? So, let's grow some food, man. Let's create some sovereignty. Let's take agency over
yeah.
ourselves. That is just a common sense thing, right? So these kinds of things, um, in the face of weird changes in the world, I try to transmute as best that I can stressors and strains that we're all going through, and then try to recapitulate them in a way that can and give someone some maybe relief and or agency of change for themselves. So
Mm,
yeah.
definitely. I love the way you put down the word terming sovereignty about their own health and their own life. Again, I'm a big fan. I really do love your documentary series. I binged it. I'm not a binge person, Darren. I'm not kidding. Like, but when I see something that we're both all passionate about, and Courtney and I included, like when you see about talking the simple things of clean water, but it's not simple. We understand that, like the things that you're advocating, and in your book too, how you're telling us about all the aspects of toxicity in the world. Like when you talked about like the struggles you went through as a young person, as a young adult or child, like with your sicknesses, with that driving force, did you have any like particular things that pushed you into looking for the superfoods? I know we're like talking, like, did you have a particular like toxicity? Were you experiencing digestive issues for the people out there, so they see your driving force behind it? Did you have anything like that?
100%. So like a little short runway to that was, uh, at 13 years old, I did my first cleanse, and this was small town in Minnesota. And so I started eating. My mom didn't even know, actually. She thought, I was still eating the pizzas and everything else. And of course I ended up doing that anyway, but I started consuming, like, for 5 days straight, just an obscene amount of grapefruits. And I don't know why. I read some sort of Minneapolis Star and Tribune article or something. And I just, and the crazy thing is, you know, how even if I wasn't consciously aware of it, I was aware that it made a shift in my hyperactivity. It made a shift in how I felt. And then picking up a dumbbell and working out, consciously doing something to change my body and the way I felt in it, that was huge. And then cut to the shorter story is that I had a career-ending football injury, and then the worlds collided, from the kind of depression of not being able to play again, to then, well, the light bulb went off. Why don't I just learn about physiology, nutrition, and kinesiology and movement and everything else? And so that's the thing that I then selfishly wanted to know more about. And then, you know, as you both know, the fascination, the miracle of the body, the ridiculousness of physiology and chemistry and biology and frequency and magnetics of the body, the healing potential. It's like, what the hell? Like, it's so it opened me up to this side of it that became very interesting to me. And then, of course, the consciousness side of it, I got a master's in psychology because I could see, and I also had my own awakenings as a 20-year-old, and the level of consciousness as it related to a response in the body, and then just spiritually, who the hell are we, right? So so those worlds kind of kept kind of coming together, and then it was really the death of my father. He died from alcoholism, and that was like, get your shit together, put this knowledge that you want to apply, that I'm finding some of the superfoods, and then let's go to the Amazon, let's see the foragers, let's see the people. If I'm going to play with this stuff, if I'm going to formulate with this stuff, if I'm going to understand it, I have to go. So that was an innocent kind of unfolding of showing up with the people, the places, and the operations of how do you preserve the very fabric and the compounds, the constituents of a botanical, instead of just trying to market some dried out capsule of nothing at the end of the day, which is most of the products even now to this day. So so the miraculousness of the botanicals as they related to the body and the medicine that they are, I then get, well, I gotta find the best. And so that's what and then I got fascinated. Well, how can I formulate? How can I bring all of these together? Some of which people hadn't seen before. And so that's just like the Indiana Jones side of all of us, the discovery, the humility of all of that came, created 15 years of my life running around the world that way.
Oh man,
wow.
Fantastic.
I'm so curious to know, because here we are living in this time where you can have anything in a moment and you don't have to wait. And there's really, there's no limit really on supply. Now there's a huge, vast like spectrum of quality, but here's what I would love to know from your standpoint. You know, we hear about superfoods all the time. And so we see people with goji berries and camu and all these antioxidants, but people will go on Amazon and they're just like, add to cart, whatever the most popular brand is, and they get it. You know, their lives are not radically changed, to be honest. You know, maybe they feel a little bit better, you know, just because they're eating something that's not hyper processed and has all kinds of fake foods in them. But are they really what they use? Like, is that, I mean, from your experience, like, people are still really sick, yet we have such an abundance of things around us. So what's the difference between the stuff that you've seen, where you've actually gone to these, you know, native areas where these superfood plants are, they're normal, they're indigenous to the area, and then like the stuff that you can just get anywhere for a fraction, you know, a small minimal price? It's like, I think a lot of people want to dip their toe in the pond, especially with superfoods, but it's also like, well, why spend $60 on, those berries and I can just get the other ones for $14.99? So what's going on here with our food supply?
Yeah, in terms of that, it's really the Wild West, and it kind of comes by way of it's more of a divide too, because there is no agency that's testing these for you. And any company doesn't have to prove quality, safety, efficacy, unless you've got a standardized herb, tincture, etc. Then there's a standardization, obviously, that you can pretty much understand that that's what you're going to get, unless they're lying on the packaging, which definitely can happen because there is no FDA agency that is the court of regulating this stuff. And that's what people don't understand. Any of those products that are on those shelves, that has not been looked at by the FDA. The FDA has no ability to do that. So it is a Wild West. It is deemed your responsibility as a product maker to get, yes, some certificates of analysis. You should be doing heavy metal toxicity. You should be doing pesticide, herbicide contamination. You should be doing these basic things, but largely you don't have to, which is why when things blow up, heavy metals and a bunch of dark chocolates, because no one was doing the testing. If you were doing the testing, you would have seen it, and you should have, as a company, already done it, but they do the minimum. And there also is a naivete to some of this stuff, because if you don't know what to test for, you don't test for it. Yes. So we had a situation this was maybe 10 years ago. I've been dealing with South America, and specifically Peru, for a very long time, maybe almost 20 years at this point. And so I know a lot of the people there, and they were in the middle of nowhere. And maca supply was being challenged by the Chinese. The Chinese was coming in with suitcases. Literally, it's like the weirdest thing in the world, but it happens. So they come in suitcases, buying up all the maca, and then using old drug routes to get it out, because it's biopiracy if you're taking the full tuber bulb of maca out of the country. And so it was a violation, but these farmers, they won the lottery because they're paying a lot more. And of course, just to conclude that, to make a point, China took it, stole it, and then started growing it and then selling it as maca. And it doesn't grow there very well, and yada, yada. The point is, there is all of this going on. And come to find out, because of the challenge, this was the silver lining, because of the challenge of that maca, we started doing tests of other areas and other regions, other foragers and other cultivators and other farmers. And come to find out, in all of these different regions around the Andes, there was heavy metals showing up.
Oh, wow.
In a wild, almost pretty much a wild form of 14, 15, 16,000 feet in the middle of nowhere. And we're like, how the hell is the heavy metals showing up in the middle of nowhere? Come to find out, 3,000 derelict illegal mining operations throughout the Andes was aerosolizing all of the shit. But so no one, my point is, no one would know unless you test. You wouldn't also think to test for a heavy metal when you're dealing with something that's not around any city. So we are, in the last 20 years, so much of this, Courtney, in that question, so much has changed, but also so much hasn't changed, because so many people come in and they use, moringa is a great example. It's unbelievable botanical. It grows powerfully, but if you don't harvest it and then dry it immediately, you lose its potency. So it's called the vitamin tree. It's got 36 antioxidants. It's got more vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin E. Like the list and minerals and compounds and everything else. And it's so powerful, but you can easily grow it in India, Africa, Bali, Vietnam, Laos. You can grow it. But if you don't know what you're doing, you're just drying it, pulverizing it, and then selling it to somebody, and then you get nothing left. So the customer has no idea. Back to the whole thing. Again, this is so much trying to condense it to make a point that the customer has no idea, to your point. All they're seeing is Moringa A, Moringa B. This looks like a pretty package. It's for $14.95. It looks like a bunch of people bought it, so I might as well buy it. And so now you get this neutered version of an incredible botanical that is incredibly beneficial if done right to the people who grew it, to the people selling it, and to the benefit of the customer. But that's not going on. That is very little of that is going on. Very little. And so people market all of these things as buy Moringa, but it's the greatest. And then they use the same marketing materials as everyone else, but it's not the same material. It's not the same camu. It's not the same Una de Gato. It's not the same goji berry. It's not the same Shazandra, chaga. You know, it just goes on and on and on. So it is really tough for a customer to understand that because they can't see that on the back. All they see is wild crafted maca, organic maca. There's no difference. They don't. So we have to do our best to tell the real story. When I formulated Shakeology, I was the formulator, so I could speak to the customers and I could speak directly. But it's very difficult for companies to do that, especially when they're not doing it correctly. You know, you can definitely put it in the greenwashing category. It's just botanical washing in a certain sense. So anyway, that's a little bit of the Wild West. What do you do? I think as people listening, because it's easy to go, okay, well then what do I do? You find customers and companies that are transparent, that are sharing their information. We have a video age, sharing where it came from, what the process is, how they're supporting the people. If they're supporting the people, they're probably supporting the plant and the processing of it, and they're probably supporting the way the exchange to get it to you and get it into a proper presentation for someone to consume it. So I mean, this is a Pandora's box for sure. The superfood. Here's what I will also let me conclude this in an agency that people can take control of. A superfood is best created by a foundation of your best foods that you can eat every day. The idea of a superfood from my perspective was add nutrient density, add historical and anthropological strength to ashwagandha that's been used for, you could argue, 15-20,000 years with Ayurvedic medicine. Shazandra, 10,000 years of use of traditional Chinese medicine. You can chaga, 5, 6, 7 cultures, from Mongolia to Vikings to tradition to China. You can go like, holy shit, there's some huge historical data, right? So you can lean on these things to add to your life. But the first thing is the foundation: water, sleep. What do sprout some broccoli sprouts in your sink. In 5 days, you can have a superfood, right? The sulforaphane and cancer resistance and like all these things. So my point to superfood hunting was to fill the gaps, fill the stress gaps with adaptogenic herbs, and but not to ever think that a superfood is the elixir of all things, because that's not how it works. It's everything you're doing all the time, added up over time.
Oh my goodness. I love your passion. And I can speak for Courtney as well that we want to be your best friends. Honestly, I love your passion, the way you talk about this, because I want to talk about those things like in your book, Fatal Convenience, like conveniences. Like when you talked about the heavy metals, it is tough because I remember I had a friend that worked for the FDA. No way am I trying to talk about the FDA. I'm just saying she was telling us a story about a certain very popular company. And she would tell me, which she was not really keen on heavy metals and toxins. She goes, I wouldn't drink this specific iced fruit tea from this company. And I said, well, you're pretty relaxed. Why would you say that? They say, because we are allowed to let a certain amount of heavy metal toxicity in the products we get from overseas. And it's to the very limit where it's, quote, almost toxic to human consumption. And from that moment on, I became very aware. So even like you're talking about, like certain companies I use in the office, like Ayurvedic, Chinese medicine, herbs, they'll go and grab like, oh, if they run out of product, they go, well, we got to find another supplier. And sometimes they'll go find another supplier and one looks good at the very beginning. And then the next batch come in and you go, oh, that's got heavy metals in it. So that's why I love your research. And in your book, I wanted to jump in because this is one of the things I love about your book, because it goes through so many avenues. When we had the book here on the counter, I was like, what is this? And it was speaking my language. Could you tell us about this new book, Fatal, Conveniences? Like, it's like, what's convenient in our world, right? And what is stuff we think's easy to eat, but it's not really good for us?
Exactly. Yeah, it goes everything from ultra processed food to your cell phone, to the clothing that you wear, to your personal care items, to makeup, to conditioners and shampoos and all of these things. And so Fatal Conveniences was birthed out of watching my father suffer with multiple chemical sensitivity in the 90s. So this was a shocking thing that I didn't see. I was studying at university, and all of a sudden, my dad, I've known all my life, is like developing all these issues, being exposed to perfumes and fragrances and off-gassing and all of these things. And it was, of course, shocking to even go, what? This is like invisible. It's like, is this in your head? And then in order to be around my dad when I'd visit from college, I'd have to take his care package and detoxify myself with clean, shampoos, conditioners, deodorants, laundry detergent, all of that stuff. So I had to go along with it. And in going along with it, of course, he's educating me. My dad was a college professor. So he's finding all this research. He's educating me on this. I'm detoxing, not knowing I'm detoxing because I didn't realize that this shit my body was used to. The great thing about the human body is we get used to almost anything. It's almost like the plus and the minus of the human, right? Because if we're eating ultra processed food, we don't realize that we're sprinting towards disease and cardiovascular disease and diabetes, but that's not just happening, it's acutely, it's happening over time. So the body adapts to whatever the hell we do with it. So over time, my dad was suffering. And so in the pursuit of just being able to learn what he was talking about and detoxing, I realized, holy shit, this stuff is affecting me and I didn't even know it. Right? It's that whole thing of like, you just feel the way you feel and you're used to it. But then when you like do a cleanse or you exercise and you haven't been exercising, then you do it enough and you're going, holy shit, I never realized how great I feel. So we get used to these spaces. So this Fatal Convenience was birthed then, and I didn't realize. So my dad suffering from that informed me. And then 30 years of running into serendipitously researchers. 25 years ago, I had a researcher telling me about Gyloma research. It was starting to come out about proximity and duration of a cell phone next to your head. I'm like, what? Why the hell would that even be a thing? Right? I'm like, 25 years ago, this is popping up in research, and we're now in 2023, and a little old guy like Darin has to write a freaking chapter on the pollution side and the stress response of electromagnetic fields, for example. It's insane. Why am I having to write this book at all? So conveniences are amazing. The cell phone is amazing. I can be in the middle of the Amazon and know where the hell I am in GPS. It's freaking amazing. shampoos and conditioners, and yeah, a lot of food available, but not a lot of nutrients available,
Yeah.
right? So therein lies my life as finding the botanicals, loving health and longevity and performance, and then staring at me was like, this is worse than ever.
Mhm.
60 to 80,000 toxins largely are not tested at all for safety. Maybe 1,000. None of them are tested as they interact with each other. Of course, they interact with each other because we're human. We get exposed to hundreds every day, and none
Mhm.
of them are tested for actual safety in the real world. But yet,
Mhm.
they're spewed on us all over the place. So this was staring at me. Okay, write on superfoods, and I write on, all these other things. But this elephant in our room of our modern world that has, what the best of my understanding, pushed product sales and profits over the real health and true safety of us as individuals,
Mhm.
was something that I just couldn't. I didn't want to write the book, but I was compelled to write the book. And
Mhm.
so, and many other people are writing. Like there's a lot. Dr. Leo Trasande wrote an incredible book on endocrine disruptors. Shanna Sharma, the incredible book on called Countdown, the motility and the sperm and the endocrine disrupting. Like it's starting to get out. PFAS is starting to pop up in all of these different ways. Hell, I just read a study where there's microplastic in the heart of like 26 patients. Like like this is I think such a critical time where we have to take agency back,
Mhm.
and realize that we got to protect ourselves, our homes from the products, because these things, as you know, health isn't just created by the things you do today. It's created by every day added up over those choices. So it's the same thing with the toxicity of this stuff, is very damaging over time.
Mhm.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny to me how it seems like maybe I have the order wrong, but your journey started with, in a lot of ways, the antidote of superfoods and antioxidants that help repair the damage of exposure to toxins because they help us detoxify our bodies. But it's when you started to discover the overwhelm of toxins, because like you said, it's not just, oh, well, it's the skincare that you're using, that you're absorbing. It's in the air that we breathe, and it's in all the things we're washing our clothes in. So I just moved yesterday, and like an hour before this podcast, you have so many things you have to do when you move. And so I had ordered all this different stuff. And one of the things I had ordered, like a rug for the kids' room. And I had the movers unroll it yesterday. I walked up there today, and the smell that rug was off gassing, the chemical smell. I went up like an hour ago, and y'all, I like ripped that thing out from under the bed, which was a giant pain, and I threw it outside. I was like, this is unbelievable. And I'm
Mhm.
already paranoid because it's a new construction house. So I was like, really, certain paints can only be like all that stuff. But I mean, you'll drive yourself crazy, guys. The flooring, I mean, the furniture, the carpets, like all this stuff. And the overwhelm is insane. If you are not attacking it from the side of buffering yourself, trying to reduce the exposures, and the antioxidant side of giving your body some internal ammo to work with, because you can't, there's just no way. It's unavoidable to think we don't come in contact with it. But like you said, it's no longer, to me, like a luxury of just, well, I'll just do these things if problems arise. Like the problems they are at work for everybody, and doesn't
Mhm.
discriminate against age. What are your thoughts on all of that? Because I mean, I think like for most consumers, most of us are just like maybe fearful, overwhelmed. What is it that you're just like, hey, here's your non-negotiables for where to
Mhm.
start? I think that could be super helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I understand how people can say I'm overwhelmed. but we have to be super careful with even buying into that idea, because just buying into the idea of overwhelm is in fact a lie, because all of life is decided by the choice in this moment. Overwhelm is trying to think that we need to make a million choices in this moment, which is impossible. So it creates this false understanding of even reality, right? It's just like your exercise. If you could exercise today and give you credit for the rest of the year, then that it's not of every day. And so you get used to one thing and then you add others. And the non-negotiables are, besides everything in the book, then the reason I say that is uh it's death by 1,000 cuts. So but there is kind of this exposure that I feel is maybe more intense, and that is anytime you open your mouth and you're consuming something. So i.e., I always kind of go back to water, right? We have water soluble glyphosate that is blasted on astrazine, all these things still just normalized as a part of our conventionally growing our freaking food. All of that goes into the water table. The municipalities have no ability to filter that out. And that's just one example. You also have neonicotinoids, you have pharmaceuticals, you have PFAS. Half of the country, I think it's even more now, half of the country is being exposed to PFAS because of our water, and I can get into how dangerous PFAS is. PCBs were still being, and that was ruled out in 1972 or 1970. In 1972, DDT was ruled out, and that still shows that both of them still show up in our blood. So all of these things start with your water first. What is an easy way? Here's a solution, people. RO and reverse osmosis or a distillation system.
Yeah.
Take it all out and then build it back up again. Add some electrolytes, easy electrolytes, Celtic sea salt, Himalayan crystal salt, add a pinch per glass. You need the electrolytes in water for good osmotic cellular hydration. That's an easy solution. Yeah, we can get into all kinds of structuring water and all that stuff, but that's a whole nother can of worms. But let's clean the water. Let's not toxify yourself with your water anymore. Easy fix. Buy a glass bottle. Now you've just eliminated exposure to plastics and plasticizers and endocrine disruptors from your container, and then you've just cleaned up your water. Holy shit, that was a massive shift. And it's environmentally better for everybody, for you, for the environment, and you're not contributing to plastic. And you've now, if you have animals, let them have clean water too. If you have children, and if you have a shower head, get a filter for your shower head so you're not expose your body. Secondly, is you got to clean up the unregulated ultra processed food, because without a doubt, there's phthalates, there's PFAS, there's of course pesticides and herbicides all over in that stuff. Hell, the wrapping that goes around fast food, ultra processed food, is also laden with PFAS, which is pre and pro fluoral alkali substances, a fluorine compound that's the godfather was Teflon. This is a forever chemical. It's absolutely destructive for the biology. So minimizing these exposures. If you start with liquids and food, you are fantastic. Then work your way out. What kind of underwear do you have on? Because most underwears and elastane and yoga pants and stretchy stuff, nylon and it's full of styrene and polyurethane. It's basically wearing a water bottle. And then imagine your body heating up, and now you're transdermally, wonderfully bringing in a whole bunch of other chemicals inside your body. So the average t-shirt, this was an alarming stat. On average, most Americans buy about 5 t-shirts per year. Do you know that it takes roughly about 2,000 liters of water to make one t-shirt, from growing the unconventional toxic cotton to then completing that? You know how many chemicals it takes to make that t-shirt, conventional t-shirt? 5,000 plus.
What?
So from
Wow.
bleaching agents to the pesticides and herbicides to the formaldehydes to the dyes, the azo dyes, the coloring dye, like it's the washing, the clean, and then of course all of that water that was used goes back into the environment. So now you're wearing a toxic t-shirt. And what I'm saying is the t-shirt's not killing you today, but all of that is off-gassing, whether it's acutely affecting you or not, it's affecting you. Just like when you eat that McDonald's burger, you're not necessarily dying tomorrow. We have to put this stuff in perspective. If you're getting a small amount of toxicity over time, hey, is that leading to endometriosis? Maybe, possibly. Is that leading to men's motility plummeting? Yeah, maybe, possibly. All of these things, again, an average woman gets exposed to 100 to 200 chemicals every day. And are we metabolizing some of those? Yes, but we keep applying these things for makeup and lotions and conditioners and all of that stuff. We keep exposing ourselves to products that are not safe. Again, I don't know why the hell we allowed this, but it's not necessarily our fault. We were born into systems that were already moving. But it's a wake up within it and going, holy shit. And this book was helped to be created by 15 to 20 researchers, highly cited. Like, I wish this didn't exist, but it exists. And so my philosophy of almost anything is, in order for anything to change, and there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be listening to this and go, I just want to live my life. That's fine. Probably not your listeners, because they're listening because they want to be better and they've already started taking those changes and applying those things. So what I'm suggesting is, this book is highlighting things to take away from your life and shift it so that there is a up leveling. So instead of using a fragrance in your conditioner or lotion or perfume, and you're leaving it to these loopholes of 85% of those fragrances are linked to carcinogenic activity and endocrine disrupting because they have a loophole and they don't have to disclose it. Instead of down regulating your body, you can actually use incredible essential oils that are not only going to make you smell amazing, it's not going to undermine your own health. These things, so when you eliminate the exposure and then change it, because there's solution for everything in this book, everything. If you switch it to the solution that's more aligned and more integrated with nature and you and your well-being, then it's exponential at that point. It's exponential because you've eliminated toxins that have been beating the shit out of you that you really didn't know for a long time. And so then it's over time, you just keep to add one thing and the next thing. And like, sometimes when people go, I'm overwhelmed, use this book as a resource. Just open it up, read a chapter or read a page, and then go to the back and look at the solutions. Like, it's this empowerment that is pushing back in this invisible elephant in our room, that is really the inspiration of this, so that people can just take more sovereign agency over their life.
Yeah. I love that when you're saying you take it step by step and you take these steps of like changing your underwear, changing your lotion, and we realize, like, if it takes tons of years for like the chemicals and the toxicities to build in our body, it'll take nice small steps to like help build profound changes. Like with our culture today, though, like, is that like with your book and how you tell us how to create the solution, societal changes, do you find that it's going to have to be like just each person, definitely taking a change in their own life, making the small steps? But maybe this is a little bit reaching out there too far. Like, what about like in our society, like in our culture and our consumerism, like in our companies and stuff like that? What do you see as like an avenue or a way to help influence the market to like say, these are the changes we need to take to preserve our health, to preserve our lives? Do you think that's too grand of a job to do, or I think it's just great that it's personal. Like, this is what I'm going to do for my health. And hopefully that just shows to people around me that I love my body and I'm going to do this. But what do you think are some of the things, or you probably have already told us, like, is it just step by step, or do you think there's going to be some, lobbying or doing things in our culture, in our government to help with this type of problems?
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, those things exist. I mean, I do believe that the power of choice is so powerful because, having, and thank you again for having me on and having these important conversations, because these conversations awakening the giant within us, because we've all become asleep to the things that we get used to. I get used to answering the phone, putting up to my head. I'm just used to it. Well, your biology is being affected by it, right? I'm used to the shampoo and conditioner. So yes, number one, making that shift. And when I was, 2.5 years of writing this book, when I was in the middle of it, I just had this epiphany. I'm like, man, the moms, the mama bears of the world, the women who are controlling the household in the best way possible, when they start to understand, because I believe that, I believe in the human spirit, I believe in common sense. And so when you can awaken a truth and you go, hey mom, I get it, everyone has budgets, but you don't have to put petroleum and fragrances on your child for throwaway diapers. You can actually use organic cotton and just wash them, right? So you're not spending extra money. You're just not buying into the convenience that's being marketed to you. So the mama bears waking up to say no to the baby bib that's marketing you as easy to wipe off and doesn't have stain resistance. Well, that's PFAS. You know how many times I'm sitting, because I'd sit under an oak tree, I'd zone out, and when I was in my zone, because it's another type of brain muscle when you're writing a book, and there's so many times spontaneous I'd be swearing because I'm reading studies, right? I'm reading this and going, the FDA knows about it. The WHO knows about it. The FDA knows about it. The USDA knows about it. The NIH knows about it. The FCC knows about it. The EPA. What the hell is going on? You guys know about this. So you're allowing this to happen, and it makes no common sense to me that I can be reading something and things can be classified as dangerous, and we're still allowing them in our environment. Now, hats off to the UK, European Union. They're infinitely better than us at this stuff. We have different, hell, a ho-ho. The formula for a ho-ho here compared to the UK is massively different. High fructose corn syrup, red number 40, like all this shit that they have banned, they just allow here in the United States. Red number 40 is connected to, I actually don't know if red number 40 is in a ho-ho, but red number 40 is in a lot of other things, and it's connected to ADD and ADHD and hyperactivity and all of this stuff. The point is that there's a bunch of stuff. So back to your question. What I believe is at the heart, just being transparent with you, I believe that the heart of humanity is stronger than everything. And I believe we have the numbers always. So when someone makes a change and their household is now changed, now they're not buying the product from the companies that don't have your best interest. So we change the buying power. And I do believe like places like Campaign for Safe Cosmetics are fantastic. Environmental Working Group is fantastic. Like there's a lot of agencies out there, but these have only popped up because the agencies you think are supposed to be doing something aren't doing something.
Yeah.
So it's just so bizarre that that happens. But it also says people say no. And when they say no, even in the face of what is feels like a twilight zone, that you would knowingly allow a forever chemical to be in a baby product, to be on your carpet that your pet's on, to be in your sofa that you're moving into your new house, formaldehyde blasting you from the stained wood.
Yes.
Like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's this kind of thing that I just know that people have a common sense radar of spirit in them. And I do believe, what the hell is the government and these agencies doing? Come on. It's so complex to get any of that to change. And it's like moving a ocean tanker in the middle of the ocean. How long does it take to make a right turn? This takes forever. So
Yeah.
so this is where only upon people, EWGs, other agencies doing testing that calls out these products. You know, Food Babe, she's been doing this shit for decades, calling out Starbucks and we're going into the fall season, calling out Starbucks. Hell, Starbucks never even had pumpkin in their pumpkin spice, right? So it's like
Unreal.
it's like unreal. Like seriously, what the hell are we doing? So
Yeah.
you and I, we've dedicated our lives to it and we get to tell more people about it. And then those people going, yeah, I care about my freaking health. I care about my life. I care about my children. I care about my pet. Like that's where we need to just go. I don't know why the hell it's like this. I don't know why. I could come up with a million conspiracy theories, but I don't know why the hell. But I do know that this is what's happening. So that's where we just go, don't buy that dental floss because it has PFAS connected to kidney cancer. Buy this one. You know that a funny little caveat. I have a little more energy around the fight right now is because literally as we're recording this, Edison, the power company that essentially did not take care of a known power pole that they knew was derelict and wrong, caused the Woolsey fire that burned my entire property to the ground. And they're literally here today because I have a lawsuit suing them. So they're running around my property trying to prove that I don't get this and I don't get that. And I was like, it's you caused 96,000 acres to burn. Me and 1,800 other people lost virtually everything.
Oh man.
And I'm not saying that to be pity because I'm going to do things differently. Like I said in the beginning, I'm doing things so that other people can benefit as well as myself.
Yeah.
And that's the trajectory. But the point is, if we don't push back, you know, screw these guys. You wanna just not settle with me and push me around? Sorry, I'm not gonna roll over. I've been around too long. I've seen things that aren't right, and we all have to pick our battles. And the thing is that the battle that we can pick is everyone that works their ass off for their money. So when you purchase something, you are consuming that or using that, and so are your children. And so we have to do better. And if it's more expensive, it might be. Then save up a little extra money. Don't buy 5 t-shirts this year, buy 2, but buy them better. Support the companies that are doing the right thing because it is more expensive for them to even create these things because they're outside of the normal ways of doing things. Hell, the t-shirt I'm wearing is from an incredible company called the Industry of Nations. It's these brothers that have literally, if I were to be a superfood hunter creating clothes like a superfood hunter, I would build a business exactly like these guys. All plant dyed, undyed, 100% cotton, beautiful, soft, nurturing, stylistic. Like these guys have been all in, not taking a penny from any other investor, put every bit of sweat and tears into this thing and building their business. So for me, it's like, yeah, is this shirt like $60? Yeah, it's more than Target. I understand that. Well, then suspend, fast fashion a little bit and buy quality, and by you buying quality helps these people help to scale, right? And then, and I get it. There is an economic. And the other thing I will push back on, all the people, your listeners who are able to afford the high quality and biohacks and the best supplements, do that the same thing across the board. If you have the ability to buy it, you then create the avenue for other people who can afford it to eventually afford it, right? Mm-hmm. So our agency, we underestimate ourselves as individuals. And when you stand for something, then that creates a vortex of possibility. And so, what else are we gonna do, right? Let's kick some ass.
Yeah,
I like you, Darin, man. Courtney, we really gotta be his friend. I mean, okay.
No,
I'm sorry, Darin.
Say the word, and
I'm gonna be reaching out. I'm gonna be like, dude, you're awesome. You're awesome. Seriously.
It's such a good point, though. I oftentimes think of myself, and granted, like I am a mom and, got kids, but I really consider myself to be the gatekeeper of the house because I'm the one that allows stuff in and what can say what isn't coming in. And that goes for people and, toxic, just all kinds of emotional stuff, but it also goes for all the products. And here's the thing. I've heard so many people say, well, I just don't have the budget for that. I don't have it. And in some instances, yes, absolutely. That's true. Let me just tell y'all, I've moved like 3 or 4 times in the last, 5 months. And I have budgets for things too. But if y'all move, you will realize how much of a consumer pattern we have. If we cut out half the garbage that we own, you can make room for the things that really do count and actually, make a difference for your health, because we just live in a world where we're just like, oh yeah, we'll take this and take that. I'm like kind of disgusted, and I do not consider myself to be like a hoarder, but after moving all this stuff the last 3 days, I'm like, I have a problem. So, I'm just saying that sometimes we just need to have a little bit more discernment maybe. And I am speaking to myself before I preach at anybody else. I felt deep conviction in that, but even that being said, I think that there's something there of being the gatekeeper, and really you vote with your dollar. So if we want change, look at what just happened with Target and Budweiser. Now, those were different circumstances, but a lot of people got real mad about it. They lost billions of dollars. Like, some of these companies will not recover from something like that. If we just did that with the angle of, we're not buying the Tide Pods and we're not going to Bath and Body Works. Like, you imagine the financial devastation. I'm telling you, those companies, they won't sell that stuff because their bottom line gets absolutely destroyed. So we do have the power here.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, if I had again, maybe we create a fund. If I had an untethered budget, I would start picking off these products. I would start picking off these products and then testing all of the toxicity and then throwing it out there as a public service, going, this is all of the shit and endocrine disruptors. And for the most part, it's already out there, which is what the book's about, right? So there's just deeper and deeper layers to these things that, like, this is what's going on. And so make an informed consent on what you're buying. Don't just, listen, I think that apathy is something that plagues all of us. We
Mhm.
just get into automation. As as a mom, you're taking care of what's in the house, you're taking care of your children, you're taking care of your German Shepherd, you're doing all these things, and it's easy to go, I don't have time, I don't have that. But you have to also choose your battles, and in terms of, I guarantee, this is what I guarantee. When you integrate something, when you make a better choice, once you've learned something and you make a better choice, you get a lot more than just a different
Mhm.
product.
Yeah.
There is something that happens when I can integrate something that I know is healthy for me. There is something else that happens. Not only am I feeling good about my choice in a much different way than just automatically buying a bunch of shit I don't need, but
Mhm.
that when I went and bought this shirt and I met the owners and we talked about travel and, where the dyes are coming in Guatemala and Peru, you think I look at this yellow differently than the yellow flower that they used, and it was a synthetic version of something that was carcinogenic? You think me wearing this shirt, it's a different thing.
Mhm.
I walk around, it's gifting my life. It's not
Yes.
taking away from it. And so, yeah, man, it's just it's a powerful thing. But again, it's this choice, one thing that we can do. And overwhelm again is something we don't have to buy into.
Yeah.
Oh
Man, guys.
man, this has been a great, great interview. I'm telling you, Darin, I'm serious. This has been good. One of our best, one of our favorites. I could tell, right, Court? I mean,
Right on.
man, so much to glean on. We got to talk more about this fund, and I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. This is because our audience is the kind of audience that really does seek change. And from that, I mean, I really appreciate, I know Courtney does too, like the book and what you point out, because
Mhm.
we don't see, if we don't look for it to find those changes, find those small things we can do, you'll never find it. So thank you for writing it though. I mean, how can people, what is the website under your name? How do they find your book? How do they find you? Where do they go on social media? Can you give us
Yeah.
where we can find you?
Yeah, so darinolien.com. All things there. You can sign up to my newsletter. I'm always putting out cool stuff. And then all social media, just Darin Olien, and anywhere where you buy books and got an Audible version too, you can check out the book or books.
Yeah.
Man.
That's awesome. Guys, like he said, it's a great book as a resource. So if you're somebody that's like, okay, I need to start somewhere and then be able to kind of pick apart where I can make the swaps, there's always an upgrade. Like there's so many things that you're maybe unaware of that are influencing your health. But like I said, you can kind of chip away at it, because sometimes it's like, okay, well, I can commit to this right now. And then next month I'm going to
Mhm.
do this. Like you said, like it's just a process, but just being committed to learning and committed to action is going to result in change. And not only for you, your household, but our communities, the way that our businesses are shaped. So there's such downstream effects, but I just love your work. I love your passion. Just so cool. I mean, it's been so
It's
cool
so
just getting to
cool.
know you.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
I mean, we got to have you on again sometime, Darin. I'm serious. Like,
Sure.
this is really great. Like, it uplifts me. So I know I just love the energy behind what you say. And so, yes, definitely. We got to reach back out and do another one. This is so good.
yeah,
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I like attracts like. So when there's a shared vibe, it's easy to just drop in, and I can also feel your audience and how much they care, and that's important. Again, this is how things change. This is how, the little tea parties when the start of our country, it was created where people gather and learn and grow and push back at things that don't no longer serve us. And so we
Yeah.
need to demand change, and we need to push back at some of these things, and we can do that. We can do that right now in our own household.
so good.
Yeah,
Oh
thank
man,
you.
guys. I
Been
hope that
good.
you loved this episode, everyone. If you've been tuning in, make sure that you like it, share it, watch it on YouTube. we just love to hear from you. You can hit us up over at the Health Institute, send us a DM, let us know what resonated with you, what maybe fired you up. If you want to join in on our fund and we're going to, we're going to DC, whatever we're going to create a tribe and a movement. So let's assemble the troops here.
For sure. Let's do it.
Oh man. Thank you again, Darin, so much.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for joining us.